When fans of Comedy Central's South Park tuned into the Season 10 premiere, titled The Return of Chef, on March 22, 2006, they witnessed one of the most memorable TV character deaths in quite some time. The episode focused on the beloved character of Jerome McElroy, better known as just Chef, the school chef who had long offered friendship and wisdom to the main character quartet of young boys, Stan, Kyle, Cartman, and Kenny. But in the Season 10 premiere, Chef is recruited into a mysterious organization known as the Super Adventurers Club, which the boys soon realize has secretly brainwashed Chef into becoming a child molester. The boys set out to rescue Chef from the cabal of pedophiles, but are unsuccessful, as Chef is ultimately struck by lightning and set on fire while crossing a rope bridge, falls down a cliffside and is impaled on a sharp log, and is then fatally mutilated by a grizzly bear and a mountain lion. In the final indignity, Chef soils himself as he perishes. This dispatching of a popular character may have seemed a little extreme, but, to be fair, for most of those fans tuning in, it was not entirely unexpected. Likewise, fans also understood exactly what series creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone meant when they set the end of the episode at Chef's memorial and had Kyle give a eulogy in which he states, "We shouldn't be mad at Chef for leaving us. We should be mad at that fruity little club for scrambling his brains." The South Park faithful understood that the episode, and Kyle's eulogy, were a pointed shot at Chef voice performer Isaac Hayes, the iconic musician and actor who had portrayed the character since the series premiere in 1997, at least until he had publicly resigned from the show in the previous 9th season. Hayes, an outspoken Scientologist, had put out a statement explaining his departure, stating, "There is a place in the world for satire, but there is a time when satire ends and intolerance and bigotry towards religious beliefs of others begins." Hayes' statement and resignation caught both fans and the show's creators by surprise, as Hayes had always defended the show's take-no-prisoners approach to humor before, even saying he supported some of the show's more edgy, risque jokes even when he didn't personally agree with them. But apparently that all changed when the show aired the infamous 9th season episode Trapped in the Closet, mocking Scientology. In response to Hayes' statement, Trey Parker responded, "This is 100% having to do with his faith of Scientology. He has no problem with our show making fun of Christians. I never heard a peep out of Isaac in any way until he did Scientology. He wants a different standard for religions other than his own, and to me, that is where intolerance and bigotry begin." And so, the Return of Chef episode was made with a Chef performance created entirely from previously recorded voice clips of Hayes from past seasons. And while fans were amused by the show taking a final shot at Hayes, many were still saddened by the situation and the loss of Chef and Hayes. Perhaps they can take some solace, or maybe just be even more frustrated, by the news that, in recent years, Hayes' son, Isaac Hayes III, has claimed that, in fact, his father never wanted to quit the show, and the decision to do so, and his official statement, was actually crafted by Scientologist handlers who took advantage of the poor health of Hayes, who had suffered a stroke 2 months before the resignation and, according to his son, was in no mental condition to make such a decision himself at the time. Hayes' son has recently reiterated his claim that his father always loved the show and the Chef character, and never would have left under his own volition. Isaac Hayes passed away in 2008, and so unfortunately we may never know his own true feelings on the matter. But there's no doubt the role of Chef remains a large part of his legacy, arguably what he is most known for to an entire generation or two of fans. Though that's hard to say, as one of the other big parts of his legacy, the theme song he wrote and performed for a famous early 70s Blaxploitation movie, is still so iconic, so ubiquitous, and so culturally beloved today that it's arguable it alone played a large role in not one, but 2 later attempts to revive the franchise from which it was born. The year is 2000, and Paramount Pictures are ready to release a new legacy sequel to a defining Blaxploitation classic, and in the process hopefully relaunch the next big action thriller franchise with Shaft. Welcome once again to Fairly to Franchise, the show dedicated to some of Hollywood's most infamous mistakes, missteps, and misfires. This is Trev.
And I'm a complicated man, but no one understands but his co-host, Trev and Chris.
I did start, the power of that song is I actually kind of started like bobbing my head over here as you were doing that. Like, it's like kind of getting into it. Like you just can't help it, you know?
It is. It's quite the banger.
I feel like the continued popularity and like just cultural ubiquity of that song is like 75% of the reason they wanted to remake this movie.
I would agree with that. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And we'll get into it.
We got to get the song out there again. Like,
Well, and they waste no time, which we'll
no, they
get
don't.
to.
No,
So.
as you wouldn't. No.
No.
No. So this, as well as you know from seeing what the episode was, and Chris's amazing rendition. Like everyone calls Chris today's Isaac Hayes. But
Yeah.
yeah. Just because
I am a Scientologist.
Damn it, you got ahead of me on that one. So you should take over as chef.
That's why I speak so highly of Tom Cruise constantly on this podcast too.
Yeah. So we are starting a new series. Always fun. We survived Small Town Witch Summer or Summer Surprise, whichever you want to call it.
Unbelievable.
Still, spoiler alert. Spoiler alert,
never.
This one, the hero does not fight any witches, unfortunately. But
I will never get over the amount of Matrix moments that we had in that last series. So everybody who hasn't listened to that, if you go back to Summer Surprise, the last 4 episodes, I think, or 5. Check them out. There's like a through line. So start from the beginning.
Yeah, you're more the Matrix moment guy than I am, but man, that was a convincing summer for your little Matrix theory. But this for as we, back to school time, the start of the fall, we're starting a new series, and that is we're gonna get double shafted September. That's right. We're looking at 2 movies called Shaft, to the same exact title. Both of them a continuation of another movie called Shaft. So we're looking at 2 of the latest entries in the overall Shaft franchise, and we're starting today with 2000's Shaft. Chris, why don't you tell us about this version of Shaft?
For sure. And before anybody gets mad at us that this is a sequel to the old movies, which we'll get to, it is a Lego sequel, and sometimes we play fast and loose with our ways of doing things here. We put a big old asterisk by our choices. This was trying to get a Sam Jackson franchise going.
For sure. I don't think there's any doubt that this is trying to start a new iteration of the franchise, which had already, of a franchise that had already come and gone. This is trying to start a new iteration, and then again later, they try again. And I think that's totally in play for us. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This one, the 2000s version, is directed by John Singleton, most famous for Boys in the Hood. And then after this one, he did Too Fast, Too Furious. Written by John Singleton, as well as 2 other writers, Shane Salerno, who wrote for a New York undercover TV show. Also, weirdly, 2 popular things right now currently. He wrote AVP Requiem, Alien vs. Predator. That movie is a steaming pile of dog shit.
Yeah, if you can see it. You can even make out anything in it.
But Alien Earth is hot right now, and so are the Predator stuff.
Yeah,
so
and it seems pretty
cool.
clear that they're building to a new AVP, which will hopefully finally get it right this time.
Definitely. Yeah. He also wrote, I don't know, have you heard of this movie? Avatar: The Way of Water?
No, never heard of it.
Interesting. No. He wrote that one. Yeah. And then Richard Price wrote this movie, including some of his credits are The Color of Money, Ransom, and he wrote for the Wire TV show. So
yeah, we should specifically say, I don't know, he's kind of more known as a novelist than a screenwriter. He definitely is. He's a successful screenwriter, but he's a novelist, and a lot his novels are always about kind of the inner city in New York.
Right.
I only put it out because he wrote 2 books. He wrote The Wanderers, which was made into one of my favorite movies. I love the movie The Wanderers, and then he also wrote Clockers, which was adapted into one of my also favorite and most underrated Spike Lee movies. So I'm a big Richard Price guy, actually.
Cool. Well, I like that you said he's a novelist, because Shaft is actually, not only was it a trilogy in the 70s, including a TV show, it was actually based on a novel by Ernest Tidyman. You see Shaft, you think you think old white guy, right? Because Ernest Tidyman is that. Anyway.
Yeah, he was like a journalist who was trying to break into fiction and wrote the novel Shaft about a black PI in New York. Yeah.
The budget for the 2000s movie is $46 million. Domestically, it made $70 million. Worldwide, $108 million. So for hit, actually.
Yeah. 2000 numbers. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. But just by contrast, the original 1971 movie was made for $1.13 million. and it made worldwide 12 million. So this one, of course it's difference in inflation and this and that, but two, like really, like the original was a huge hit. Obviously, that's why they cranked out those sequels every year. I didn't realize that until recently.
They were both hits. I would say, and maybe you want to argue this with me, Chris, but I would say the original had a little bit more of a cultural imprint than this.
Well,
2000 version.
for sure. You think you don't say. I will say though, the 2000s version, the poster, very iconic.
Yeah.
I remember that like very distinctual, in my memory.
I think it's still, there's something, I'll get to it in a moment, but I think there is still something very, very important, like maybe not culturally, but in terms of its like place in cinematic history. So, Yeah.
So right off the bat, I have a secret to confess to you, Trev. Okay. So you, the last time we recorded, you asked me, you're like, I'm going to go watch the original Shaft. And you're like, have you ever seen that? And I was like, no. And I know you were surprised when I said that, but then then you're like, well, I always do the work.
I would have been more surprised if you would answer like, I've never seen Shaft, but oddly enough, I have seen Shaft Goes to Africa. And I would really been like, what? Why'd you watch the third one?
I gotta see where it peaked. Okay. Yeah. So you asked me, are you going to do the work? And I said, no, I'm not going to. Well, I have a confession, and I didn't log it on Letterboxd. So it would be a surprise right here. Yeah, I know.
Nice. Wow.
I know. I'm sneaky. Okay. So after 50 plus years since release, 36 of those years being my lifetime, and after all the hype of this character's consequential existence and importance throughout the film history, everything, and making sure to do the work for this new theme on this month, Trev, I'm here to say, it's okay.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I recently rewatched it for this, and I don't know if I did log it, and I don't know if you read my review, but I made the point in my review that it's a movie that I kind of, like every 5 years or so go by and I revisit it thinking maybe this is the time I'll like love it. And I never do. I always just kind of like it. And it is, and I say in there too, I know some people treat this as a cop-out, and I get it, but there are some movies I think you can watch and be more kind of taken with and entertained by watching them and understanding their cultural importance.
Sure.
And like their historical import at the time. And that's how I feel about Shaft. I watch it and you do get like how it was so groundbreaking and how it felt so different. Yeah. And I do think it's very easy to be taken by Richard Roundtree, who is giving an incredible performance. It's just like charisma, like blasting off the screen. Story?
And
kind of sloggy.
Bad. Boring.
Yeah, boring. Yeah. He's not active enough as a character, like especially throughout the middle of it. It starts really high energy and ends high energy, but the middle is, it's pretty slow. Yeah.
I was very surprised, and again, this might be sacrilege, but I mean, I was very surprised just how boring the movie was. And I haven't seen many blaxploitation films, but like I've seen enough, and I know enough about this genre to see that this was. It didn't go far enough. I'm not really sure. Like it was
only like the fourth or fifth blaxploitation movie released. And
totally.
It was early. It was 1971, and blaxploitation kind of really takes off so that's one of the important things about Shaft is it's one of the ones that really gets the ball rolling on blaxploitation.
Totally.
And I'm kind of with you in that. And it should be said too, like that Gordon Parks, the director of the original Shaft, and some of the other people involved, they knew they were making a film that was going to be popular with black audiences, but they have always said also they were just trying to make like a crowd pleaser. They weren't trying to necessarily make a blaxploitation movie. Yeah. But the success of that movie, of course, led to later blaxploitation movies. And however else you might feel about it, I've always been a fan because I definitely had a period where I watched a lot of blaxploitation movies, especially when Quentin Tarantino wouldn't shut up about them. Around the time of Jackie Brown. And that's when I really got into like Pam Grier movies and everything. But I'm definitely a fan of the later, more ridiculous, over-the-top blaxploitation movies. So I think that's my issue with Shaft. It really is just a kind of standard detective movie, just with a character at the forefront that you can see why that would have been important at the time.
And quite possibly one of the worst sound mixes of all time. Did you notice that this time?
it's not. I mean, the cheapness of the movie is evident, But also, I think you know this about me too. I am a sucker for any movie like that was shot in New York in like the 70s.
Yeah, totally.
Because I do love seeing the sleaziness of New York and portrayed when they actually went and filmed there. So that's just like a sweet spot of mine.
I agree.
So there are definitely things about the movie I like, and I don't want to be entirely dismissive of it, but yeah, it's kind of a movie that is just more important than it necessarily is a great movie. And that's how I feel every time I revisit it. And then I doubt you did the homework of going on to watch the sequels, but definite diminishing returns with those. Like I remember watching those years ago, and I don't really feel much need to go back to like Shaft's Big Score and Shaft Goes to Africa. And I know they even did like a 1-season Shaft TV show, which I believe everybody who's seen hates. Like Richard Roundtree did come back for it, but I believe that was very, as you would expect for network TV at the time, very watered down. I know it was like Shaft is like friends with all the white cops now, and he just works with them, and it's definitely missing the point.
Watching the original Shaft, I had either... I guess I never put it together because I'd never seen it, right? Like, I know who Richard Roundtree is, and we've talked about him in Steel, right?
Yeah.
He showed up in Steel. That's his claim to fame. Anyway. But no, I didn't realize that he's one of the announcers in Speed Racer.
Yes.
Which was cool. So... just another episode we've done on this podcast. So
I'm always excited. I'm sure I even said it in the Steel one. I'm always excited when he pops up. And I do watch Shaft, and I said this in my review too. I do watch it and think like, well, it doesn't surprise me because it's probably the same systemic racism the movie's lightly commenting on. But you do watch it and go, well, Hollywood sure dropped the ball on this guy in the wake, especially since it was a big hit. Like he really should have gone on to be more of a Hollywood star.
I agree.
And instead, he just got put into, like I said, lesser Shaft sequels, and then that was kind of it for him as like a leading man. I'm glad he got to have like a little resurgence later in life. Like right before he passed, he has a great supporting role in Thelma. That recent movie with June Squibb. He's fantastic in that, secondary lead. But just in general, I wish he'd had a bigger career through the 70s and 80s and everything.
Well, I think it just shows how good he was because, again, that first movie, is it's fine. But his presence is felt, so much. And he is so cool. He's very calm. He's got humor to him. He's very charismatic. He's fucking banging bitches. Like he's having a good time. but he's like good at his job, and he's like totally competent. And like he's just cool as shit.
Yeah, the scenes where he can really show that off. Like I do love the scene where he's like posing as the bartender to like and calling the cops on the two like mob guys without them realizing what he's doing. Like that's great. I actually should say too. Now
he sleeps with 3 separate women in that hour 40-minute movie, right?
Yeah, it's not the most, there's definitely been talk about Shaft and other Blaxploitation movies maybe having a layer of misogyny to them, but posed as more like, oh, look how just badass. Everybody wants to be Shaft, right?
Yeah.
It's no different than James Bond, really, It's the same
totally.
Kind of wish fulfillment. I was just about to say, though, I'm glad you were talking about him, and it kind of made me realize, because you're talking about just how charismatic he is in the role, that yes, I'm sure racism played a part into him not becoming a bigger star, but also he kind of had that thing where the curse of a great performance and iconic character, in that you play John Shaft in Shaft, the movie becomes a cultural sensation, a big hit, and then everyone doesn't think of you, nobody thinks of you as Richard Roundtree. They just think of you as Shaft. And I'm sure that hurt him too. That's a definite typecasting moment.
When you play John Shaft in Shaft, you go on to play John Shaft in Shaft, and then after that Shaft, you are also John Shaft in another Shaft.
Yeah, for sure. And I just think like maybe he went out for other roles where he's like, can I play like the reserved lawyer in this, or the single dad trying to raise a family in the suburbs, and everyone's like, no, you're John Shaft,
Yeah.
So he probably had that little bit of that to battle against too.
Totally. Yeah. I was gonna say the Harrison Ford effect, but he went off to be a mega movie star. So never mind. I take that back.
Harrison Ford was smart enough to find 2 super iconic roles early on.
That's true.
And so that's good. It's like immediately busted out of that. But yeah.
Well, I mean, let's get to, I guess, this 2000s version, because there's not a lot of production history. Like, I think usually with a movie like this, a resurgence of sorts, you know, it comes out 27 years later after the last movie we saw with this character. You know, like, why? There's usually a lot of history or something that's ruminating in the interim, but this one, not so much. It really comes down to John Singleton, the director, always wanting to remake this movie since he was a kid. And seeing that, what you kind of talked about, the wide appeal of the first film, but not just as a blaxploitation film. So he's always wanted to do kind of like a crime drama with this character. And I mean, he starts trying to sell this thing in the mid 90s, like I guess right after Boys in the Hood. So that makes sense. That's his huge hit, right? They're looking at Don Cheadle to play the son of Shaft. He's not in. And then because of the Quentin Tarantino, you've already mentioned him. We're like Eli Roth now, hey? We just can't stop mentioning this fucking guy. But because of his films doing so well in the 90s, Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, this huge crime epic stuff.
And like I said, his constant discussing of blaxploitation,
correct,
and like how he always talked about that genre was a huge influence on him, and then even to the point of making his own with Jackie Brown, you know.
Yeah. Well, this gains the attention of Scott Rudin, the producer at Paramount Pictures.
Noted good person, Scott Rudin.
Usually we don't mention a lot of producers, but this is one of those situations where Scott Rudin is a lot to blame, maybe, for a lot of disagreements and probably the wrong choices.
Be careful. You want a throne phone at your head, buddy? You better be careful what you say about Scott Rudin.
Maybe I do. But yeah, he is interested in this. They buy the movie, or they buy the rights to the movie. And these three guys, Singleton, Salerno, and Price, come in to write the script. At first, they want to do a father-son team-up. Scott Rudin says, no, don't do that. Which is interesting because, well, when we talk about the movie proper, that does seem maybe the obvious thing to do, right?
It does. The only thing I can think, I was trying to think like why you wouldn't do that, and it's like this weird thing where I'm guessing the discussion that was had in the boardrooms at the time was Richard Roundtree is not famous enough to bother with that. But then my question becomes, if you don't think Richard Roundtree is famous enough as Shaft to play the dad in a bigger role, why are you remaking Shaft? You know, like it just the logic doesn't quite work out there. If you're remaking it because you think it's iconic, then you have to acknowledge that he is the character and he would still be iconic. So I don't know. I can see both arguments, but it seems to me they maybe made the wrong choice there.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that because they do try to hire big name actors, and not to say that Sam Jackson's not. He's obviously a huge actor. That's not what I'm getting at.
Well, yeah, but we'll talk about that in a moment where he was in his career. Yeah.
This was the idea though. The idea was get a huge fucking name, and they went to Will Smith, they went to Wesley Snipes, both passed. Wesley Snipes especially had said he didn't think the script respected black culture, so that's interesting.
It was Snipes that said that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Snipes.
Yeah. What do you think about those two choices? Because I think one of them is great and one of them is terrible.
Yeah, well, I know what you're gonna say. Yeah, no, Wesley Snipes would have been awesome, of course.
Yeah.
Will Smith though, no. And even as a Will Smith defender up until the slap, and to see his AI videos recently, it's getting harder and harder to defend.
How much have you been banging girls? Are you just playing that like on a nonstop loop?
Oh my god. Oh my god. Listeners, if you haven't heard Will Smith's latest singles.
Yeah. Or his freestyles that he's been doing.
Oh my god.
Like the throwing the grenade one. Go check that out.
Oh, pack it up, brother. Stop doing this. So no, Wesley Snipes would have been awesome. I mean, hell, he showed how awesome he was showing up in Deadpool, you know? Like I just want more Wesley Snipes, so this would have been perfect for him. They did go for John Leguizamo to play the role of Peoples in this. We have not had a Let's Go Leguizamo in an age. So I kind of wish he was in this. Then we could have done our show within a show. But I do love John Leguizamo. He's been outspoken recently too, lately, for a lot of reasons. And then they wanted to go to Lauryn Hill to play Detective Carmen Vasquez. I love Lauryn Hill, even though she's made one album in how long?
Yeah, her entire career feels. I think.
Yeah. So anyway, they go to Sam.
But she made one of the greatest albums of all time, though. So
yes,
I'll cut her some slack. Yeah.
And yeah.
And also the Fugees still rule. Also,
Lauryn Hill could be taking the Will Smith route right now. So you know what? You're right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's talk Sam Jackson because he is unsure about accepting the role, but he takes it. So let's talk Sam Jackson right here in the late 90s.
Well, okay, so this is where I want to float a kind of a theory to you, and I want to see if you agree, because I was looking at his filmography, and I would actually argue that the overall importance of Shaft, even though it does not, spawn the franchise they're obviously aiming for, is I do think just the release of this film and it being the hit it was, I think this is actually the moment that Samuel Jackson is cemented as a movie star, like in a significant way. And now I'm sure some people hear that and say, that's crazy, Troy. What are you talking about? Like, he already had done Jurassic Park. He'd done Pulp Fiction. He was in, Die Hard with a Vengeance. He was in A Time to Kill, The Long Kiss Goodnight. And I agree with you. Jackie Brown, 97. I agree with you. But if you kind of go through his career, his filmography, like all through that like second half of the 90s, he's in so much stuff and so many movies that are like so popular today that are beloved that we still go back to. And obviously, you'll never meet anybody. I've never met a person who says I don't like Samuel Jackson. Yeah. Everybody loves the guy. Yeah. Shaft, to me, though, was the first time that he kind of really was the name above the title, not sharing it with anyone else. Even something with like The Negotiator, 98, a movie I quite like, but that's still him and Kevin Spacey, right, at the time. Shaft is like the
famed,
first...
really nice person.
Yes, another
Kevin
one. Yeah. Who I think actually, Swimming with Sharks, he plays a character that's kind of at least slightly based on Scott Rudin. Anyways, it all comes together. But so Samuel Jackson is always part of an ensemble, or he's like a co-lead, but Shaft is the first time where they say, okay, you've had such a great second half of the 90s. Everyone loves you. You've been in some of these big movies. It is time. We are we are putting you front and center, and this is the point where I think Samuel Jackson becomes like a marquee star himself. Would you kind of say that I mean, that was the feel of the time, right?
That is actually a great hypothesis, I would say. Yeah. Because, like even me looking at this list here, it's always an ensemble. It always
even
is.
The logic of it, right? Like so I understand. Will Smith and Wesley Snipes had turned it down. But you are saying, like, who can we possibly cast to play Shaft, which is like a really important movie in Black culture. And it's, the high-profile remake of a movie that everyone recognizes as kind of like the Blaxploitation movie, So to even just have him get the call and be put in, front and center, that's a pretty big anointing, saying you are the guy right now.
I think that's the caveat right there, as you said, Shaft being such a big character in Black culture. And I think... as to white men right now, we know what we're talking about.
Yeah, two white guys talking about Shaft.
We know.
We know. We understand.
I think you nailed it, because I think up to that point, he had been anointed. You know what I mean? In these ensemble roles, having such a big presence in these movies, again, Pulp Fiction, so big to even for Star Wars. He's the second Black guy to ever be in Star Wars. You know what I mean? Like, it was like for him to be Mace Windu in 99 was a huge deal. He's iconic in every role. No matter if he's got a couple lines or he's, a co-lead like in Die Hard, right? I think he is the guy. And you are so right that Shaft was the moment to say, you are officially our guy and everybody else's guy.
You could look at it like as a positive, or as like finally like, here's your reward. You finally get like a franchise of your own, or at least an intended franchise. Sure. You could also look at it like why did it take that long after Pulp Fiction for him to get that, right?
I wouldn't say that's but hold on though, because since Pulp Fiction that was 6 years, but 6 years he did 20 fucking movies.
Well, that's how I was about to like counter that, actually, of saying like I could see like someone making that, like why didn't, but then it's like, yeah, but look at the movies he made in the meantime.
He was busy.
I just mentioned a bunch of them, and it's a lot of great movies, and even if he has small roles in them, he's a lot of great movies and Sphere. but a lot of great movies otherwise.
And like you said, nobody dislikes Sam Jackson.
Seriously,
nobody.
Yeah.
And he is phenomenal in every role. He never phones it in. Even when he's showing up in shitty Marvel movies in the later years here, he's still doing a pretty good job. I did not like Captain Marvel. I'm just trying to think of one of the last ones he was in. I didn't watch Secret Invasion, but I heard that was very, very bad. But I can't imagine Sam Jackson not bringing at least his gravitas. You know what I mean? So, and I think that's how I feel like I didn't like Captain Marvel, but Sam Jackson was amazing in it. You know? So, yeah.
Well, that's the good thing about it, because he's never stopped being super prolific. You know, he cranks them out. He makes multiple movies every year, and yet it's still to this day, I don't think anyone has ever gotten sick of him. And he's made a lot of, especially like post Shaft, you know, like he's made a lot of bad movies. But
dude, his career is 218 acting credits right now.
Yeah, and he's never the problem in any of those bad movies, and that's the thing. And like, anyways, you know a sentence that has never been spoken in the history of the human language until probably right now. I don't want to see that movie because Samuel L. Jackson's in it. That just does not happen. Like I said, like everybody loves the guy.
Jared Leto effect of Tron Ares.
You know, here's a sentence that has been spoken many times in the human language. Samuel L. Jackson is how old? That's the other crazy thing about him. This dude has barely aged since Pulp Fiction. It's nuts. Yeah.
Do you know what his age is right now?
He's like close to 80, right?
Jackson age on the 76. He will turn 77 in December, which is wild.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes to why he was unsure to play Shaft, because he didn't think the Shaft would have been middle-aged.
Yeah.
Because it would have been 25 years ago this came out, so he's already in his 50s doing this movie, which is insane. Wow. He is ageless.
He is. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I will not look that good at 77. I will. That's a declaration.
You don't look that good at 43 or whatever you are. No. Again, it's this was the movie. You are so right. I second that for sure. And then coming out with Unbreakable right after too. Oh my god. Then Star Wars Episode 2: Attack the Clones. Okay, that's it.
And then SWAT coming soon on Failed Franchise at some point.
Yeah.
He's got a couple. We're going to talk about him a few more times in this podcast. So that's
But never bad. Isn't that weird? I know right now he's a never bad.
Yeah, he's one of the definitions of a never bad. Like, yeah.
So much so that I don't even know. Like, I'm sure some listeners know this, but I don't want to always like pinpoint the MCU. But I was there in that theater. So were you, Trev. Opening weekend, Iron Man. Funnily enough, I just went down to my basement a couple of weeks ago to see if there was like a time for a few years that I kept all my stubs, right before everything went digital. I have my original Iron Man opening weekend ticket stub, and I forgot to send you a picture of it, but regardless, listeners, if you weren't there when Sam Jackson showed up at the end,
Jarvis.
Welcome home, son.
I am Iron Man. You think you're the only superhero in the world? Mr. Stark, you've become part of a bigger universe. You just don't know it yet.
Who the hell are you?
Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh.
I'm here to talk to you about the Avenger Initiative.
that was like a defining moment of like, oh my God, something truly special is about to happen. And also, if you're not as old as me and Trevor, that version of Nick Fury is actually based on Sam Jackson.
Yeah, I was just
like
about
in
to
the
say that.
comics.
I was going to say, like, not only are you right that everyone's excited just to see Samuel Jackson, but you have to remember that happened because of another piece of evidence about how awesome he is.
Yeah.
That when they decided to reinvent Nick Fury for the Ultimate line of Marvel Comics, they were like, well, who's the coolest motherfucker in the world? And let's draw Nick Fury to look like him. Well, it's Samuel Jackson, obviously.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like the legend goes, Samuel Jackson is a comic book fan. He went into the comic shop, picked up the issue, looked at it, and said, why the fuck am I in this comic book, and why am I not playing this character if they're going to draw like that? And then they just made the call, and that's.
And they basically drew him like Shaft, which is crazy because he's got the black trench coat, he's got the leather, he's got he doesn't have an eye patch in Shaft, but throw an eye patch on Shaft, that's Nick Fury. It's insane. It's insane. Yeah. So very cool. I guess we'll just say that everybody didn't get along making this movie. Is that kind of the basis of this?
It sure sounds like it. Yeah.
It sounded like
More on the behind the scenes level, we should say.
yes, sorry, between maybe the writer, especially Richard Price, Sam Jackson, and Scott Rudin. John Singleton for sure. I've heard many stories that John Singleton, I don't want to speak ill of him, he has been gone for a while now, but he, by most accounts, he was kind of a pain in the butt.
Well, I also wanted to bring him up really quick, too, because it is interesting that this is a definite turning point in his career.
Sure.
Because you mentioned Boys in the Hood. He comes, firing right out of the gates with Boys in the Hood 91. Just an incredible movie. And really still, like, of that entire, there was a lot of movies like that at the time. And that is still, to me, like the top of the hill in that genre.
Yeah.
And then 93's Poetic Justice, also very good. And, like, you could say, like, oh, well, that's just a romantic movie. But no, it has, like, this really strong message about gun violence. And then Higher Learning, a movie very much about, race relations and racism on college campuses. And then 1997's Rosewood, about the Rosewood Massacre, where a white mob destroyed a black town. So it seemed like, okay, well, John Singleton's thing is he is the guy who makes, very, very important movies. And then he does Shaft. And it's like, well, that's obviously important to him. And Shaft, as we said, is an important movie in the blaxploitation and, overall black culture. But it does kind of change the trajectory of his career a little bit, because then he kind of goes from that into, Baby Boy's a little bit of a slight return, but then doing Too Fast, Too Furious, Four Brothers, and Abduction.
Totally.
It's kind of like he couldn't ever fully get back to being the more socially conscious drama guy, and just kind of became a blockbuster guy, which is, I don't think you would have thought that in 95 when he'd done Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, and Higher Learning, that's where his career was heading.
And then he becomes a TV guy. Like, that's really it. So it's a strange trajectory, but then also, like I just said, I think he was kind of a pain in the ass to work with. I've heard that many, many times, that John Singleton, of a very stubborn man of what he wanted, which again, a lot of creatives are, so it's nothing to, we've heard that a lot with James Cameron, Michael Bay, maybe and there's more of a light shone because of that race thing we like to talk about. So I don't know. It's
not a defense, but more of like an understanding to say, like, sometimes that kind of ego and that kind of attitude does come out of the fact that your first two movies were Boys in the Hood and Poetic Justice, So
Totally.
It's like, when you're that good and you're that good and you're being rewarded for being that good early on, it can obviously change how you view yourself and how you want to run a set and everything. So yeah,
Totally.
it wouldn't surprise me if that was true.
But there was just a lot of disagreements, even on the script level of Shaft 2000. And then during the production, there was times that it's reported that Singleton refused to come out of his trailer. Jackson refused to say some of his lines because he deemed them like racially insensitive or being untrue to the character. Scott Rudin kept tinkering around with everybody's roles. Christian Bale is in this movie as the villain, and his role is greatly decreased. Or reduced in the movie, in the edit. The post-production was described as brutal by many people involved in the making. This felt like a movie they tried to save in the edit. That's what I'm getting from here.
I even have I'll just say it now. I was going to save it for the review, but
sure.
I kind of have a story about that, because I remember, you're talking about the poster being iconic. I definitely remember the lead up to this movie. This is a movie I was very excited about at the time for all the reasons we just talked about. Like, Quentin Tarantino had got like discussions of like blaxploitation going again, and I had like recently watched a lot of those movies at this point. So high on Samuel L. Jackson at this time, like everyone else,
Yeah.
Very, very exciting, just the idea of like John Singleton making a Shaft movie. This was a movie I was like very, very eagerly like looking forward to. And I remember in like the summer movie preview or whatever issue of Entertainment Weekly at the time, which was like my Bible back then. I got Entertainment Weekly. Everybody had a subscription and would read like just cover to cover. And I remember when they were like previewing Shaft, that the pictures they were showing from the previews for like the summer preview were Samuel Jackson and Christian Bale fighting on an airport tarmac. And I was like, oh, can't wait to see that fight. I'm still waiting, because I actually believe you can watch it as a deleted scene, but that's the thing, is it's not in the movie.
Yeah.
So like, even from the time they were like starting to promote the movie to like when it got released, they cut a whole, like, what was meant to essentially be the final showdown between who was meant to be the main villain, but obviously that even got tinkered with, and we can talk about why later. But yeah, so it definitely, this is a movie that got reworked a lot as it went along.
Yeah. Do you want to just get to it?
Yeah, I guess we should see if any of that tinkering actually, how it panned out for them.
Remember me? Read my mind. Who delivers 10 times out of 10?
Who's the cat that won't cop out?
Shady Ray. I might take you down, but I'll never let you down. Now, what's my name? Shaft! You're damn right.
Oh, you are gone from this precinct.
For what? That?
What is wrong with you?
I'm out. I'm done. I'll get him my own way.
In a system where money can buy you freedom,
What about the waitress?
The waitress, she saw it, huh? So what you do, threaten her?
The next day, I just started running. I've been running ever since.
in a city where fear can buy you power,
I need someone located.
That's gonna cost you.
only one man will stand up for justice.
You ain't even a pig no more.
Do you think that makes me less dangerous or more dangerous?
You're too hot, man. You gotta step off a bit.
Got milk?
Yeah, I got the milk.
Right on. His ass is mine.
You know, something happens to her, I'm gonna come after you myself.
You won't have to. Something happens to her, it happens to me. Any questions?
Can you dig it?
NYPD detective John Shaft investigates the assault of Trey Howard, a young black man, outside of a restaurant. He arrests Walter Wade Jr., the wealthy, racist son of a real estate tycoon, sight unseen. Wade is granted bail and flees to Switzerland. 2 years later, Wade returns to New York, which catches the attention of Shaft, vowing to bring Wade to justice outside the law. Meanwhile, multiple parties are in a race to find the waitress, Diane Palmieri, who most definitely witnessed the original assault and can bring Wade to justice once and for all.
Good plot description. You left out one very important character, which is funny, and we'll talk about that, about how it's even funny that was left out because of how the movie got retinkered and everything. But,
Totally.
Yeah, because very appropriate, actually. Chris, if you don't mind, I'll go first on this one because this was a second viewing for me. So while I was watching this, and I believe this was a first time viewing for you. While I was watching this with my wife, she asked when the last time you saw this, and I said opening night in the theater. I hadn't seen it since then. And that might kind of give away my feelings on this movie. And I would say it was interesting to kind of revisit it and see, has anything changed for me? Like, will I kind of consider it differently? And I'd say what I remembered about it is kind of exactly how I felt about it this time. You said that you were, after all the talk about how important the original Shaft was and everything, how it's just okay. It's kind of how I feel about this one. It's fine. It's fine. It's a very, very basic, kind of generic by the numbers detective story, and I think that's the disservice of it. I think you walk out of it not feeling super excited about it being a Shaft movie, and I think there's some key elements to it that I think kind of miss the mark in that regard, in terms of it doesn't seem too interested in getting into any kind of issues. I mean, obviously it's touching on them slightly, but it seems largely disinterested in like the more like racial elements of the movie, and is just kind of more like a Friday night at the multiplex, throw popcorn down your face detective story. And Samuel L. Jackson is very entertaining it. There's a lot of great actors. Basically every scene is populated with actors I enjoy seeing on screen. It's very fun to see some of the actors who pop up in this because I forgot that they were in it. So I don't like really hate my time watching it, but I will say, kind of like the original Shaft, I think it gets very, very boring at a certain point. And even at only like an hour and 40 minutes, it's one of those movies where you feel like you've been watching it longer. But yeah, I don't have strong feelings about it one way or the other. I just feel like it kind of misses the mark because it never feels like it's as exciting as a Shaft reboot with Samuel L. Jackson should be. Everything about it feels kind of just standard to me. But yeah, it's the new Shaft, whatever.
It's on the poster. We're gonna be so similar, I think, because this is why they kept the title the same, is because it was an okay movie then, and it's an okay movie now. I understand the importance of the original. Like, I'm not naive to that, as we discussed, so I get it. And there's definitely more personality back then. I think that's just a thing of the 70s, right? It was auteurs and filmmakers and some of our greats came out of the 70s, and especially like the on location shooting in New York at that time was just a different New York than it is in the 90s. And I think if that's your aesthetic you like better than what we got here, it makes sense, right? And I think because I know I said the 90s, this movie came out in 2000s, but ostensibly it's a 90s movie. Yeah,
in terms of look and attitude and everything. Yeah,
100%. And I think that's where I think it's okay, because it distinguishes itself different than the first one instead of just rinse and repeat. So I like that Sam Jackson is playing the nephew of the original Shaft. I like that it's not just trying to do Shaft again. So I give it credit for that, and I like Sam Jackson's portrayal as a more like aggressive or reckless Shaft than the predecessor. You know what I mean? There's that 90s edge to him, versus like the funky coolness of the 70s. So I'm into that because it's doing something different and it's just a sign of the times, honestly. But there's definitely little to no quote unquote blaxploitation in this by design. I had mentioned originally in the preamble that Singleton was a fan of the original, and he said it had wide appeal beyond a stereotype of being blaxploitation. So, but by design, he made it more, I guess, accessible, in a lot of ways. But in saying that, like you said, it becomes more dumbed down and generic. So I guess it's kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't, because they are doing something different. It doesn't feel like the first Shaft. So I think that's an okay thing. However, it loses its personality. So that's kind of where I come down on it.
Even to the point where you mentioned earlier how they don't waste any time playing the theme song. And we really didn't talk about the theme song enough when we were talking about the original movie. So Isaac Hayes did the score for the original, and of course did the iconic Shaft theme song, which did go on to win Best Song at the Oscars. And the album won a Grammy for that year too. And obviously we knew the song would be in this version, and you mentioned they just put it right up front. It's the first thing you hear. It plays over the opening credits, and then you kind of realize that it kind of needs to be right there because it wouldn't really fit in for the rest of the movie. And even like when you look back on the movie in retrospect, you're like, that just feels like out of place,
Same goes for the artsy sex scene credits, right? They're kind of doing the same thing too, because they're not going to get to that later. Yeah.
The original movie has a very strange, but of course kind of cool, like art film sex scene in the middle of it, and they kind of hint at that in the opening credits of this, but this movie is largely sexless, which is like kind of, except for the famous line that was in the trailers.
You know me. It's my duty to please that booty.
And also asking her if she wants the LD. You can probably figure that out, everyone. But but other than that, the movie is like strangely sexless for a Shaft movie, and that's what I mean. It just doesn't. That's what I mean about it never feeling like Shaft. And the other problem it comes up against, and this is kind of a good problem to have because it is Samuel Jackson, but I kind of agree with you that I like that he's not playing it like the Richard Roundtree version. But the other issue you kind of have is he's also just playing Samuel Jackson.
Sure, yeah.
Like, you never feel like you're watching Shaft. It's always like, well, Shaft has just become Samuel Jackson. And I guess that's what was being asked of him, and we like seeing that. But it kind of means that he overshadows it. It's interesting. We talked about how Richard Roundtree probably felt really typecast because everyone saw him as Shaft. That was never a concern here. People weren't going to see Samuel Jackson as Shaft. In fact, quite the opposite. I think like he overshadows the character.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
Yeah.
There's definitely... Again, this isn't a negative about Sam Jackson because we just love him so much, but he's obviously so fucking cool. Okay, he can swear like nobody else. He can command a scene like no one else. I get it, but there's just like something that I think that swagger that Shaft needs is not there. Like you said, those two lines are very funny. I like those lines. I actually wrote them in my notes, but the swagger with the ladies is just different. It's you are watching Sam Jackson hit on somebody at craft service. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, like I'm not watching Detective John Shaft, say one line and then cut to the shower sex scene in the original, you know?
Yeah.
So I totally agree with you there. It's not to say that it's bad. That's another thing too. Like, I think this movie is just middle of the road when it comes. It's serviceable is a good way of saying it.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Jeffrey Wright doing Latino face?
So this is interesting, right?
Is there a term for that, by the way? I didn't know. I didn't look it up. Because there's like blackface. Is there a Latino face? Is that a thing?
I don't dare look it up and have us start using a term that we shouldn't be using, that some asshole put online for it.
Okay, we'll keep it Latino face then.
We should say, so obviously, as we mentioned, John Leguizamo was originally cast for this role.
Yes.
And then he leaves the production and they cast Jeffrey Wright. Now again, Jeffrey Wright, one of our finest actors.
Yes.
Someone you're always excited to see. That is no different here. I would maybe say, to me, maybe the MVP of the movie, like on a performance level. Like I do find this character very, very fun, and we'll even talk about the impact that had on the movie. Mm-hmm. But there is a point. Well, there's actually a lot of points during the movie where you start to think to yourself, like, well, why is Jeffrey Wright playing this part? And like, is this right? And it actually sent me, like, I'm not gonna lie, and maybe this is like insensitive or whatever. I went to Jeffrey Wright's like Wikipedia page just to see like what is his like entire ethnic background. Should he be playing this part? But he's doing a great job of it. I don't know. It's like, you know, but whatever. That is what it is. They did not rewrite the role after Leguizamo dropped out, clearly.
Yes. And we should explain, because there's two villains. I did not mention the second villain, which is Peoples Hernandez, played by Jeffrey Wright. But the first villain is, like I said, Christian Bale, playing Walter Wade Jr., who's he's the initial incident. He kills Mekhi Phifer, and playing Trey, right? Yeah, playing Trey. Yeah. That's the name, Trey Howard. And then he
uncredited Mekhi Phifer, right? Was his name not in the opening credits?
I don't believe it is. It is. But he flees to Switzerland and then comes back and then gets involved with Peoples Hernandez, because basically he needs to find Toni Collette's character, Diane Palmieri, another amazing actor. So they need to find the waitress, and then he employs Jeffrey Wright, who's like a drug dealer in this story, to find her first. And like, they kind of are commiserating together to get this waitress and kill her before Shaft can find her and bring everything to justice.
My name is Peoples. You know why they call me that?
Because Joe always takes care of Joe people?
Yeah, actually, more or less. You play golf?
Not for a while.
Golf is fun. Tiger Woods. I like him. You got a bow?
I had one.
What kind of boat you had?
Boston Whaler?
Boston Whaler. You been around the world, right? You know something? I got money longer than train smoke. I ain't never been on an airplane once my whole goddamn life.
Let me ask you something. Yeah.
Cinco familia. 5 family. 5 borough. 1 law.
Okay.
You an interesting motherfucker. You got like a business card or something?
Now, there's so many scenes away from Shaft, like explaining what I just said. This movie is not long. It's actually shorter than the original. It's an hour 36, I think. That's including credits. But there is long stretches that Shaft is not in it. And not that that's always a bad thing, I get it, but it's like a pacing thing. And it goes back to our edit problem with this post-production hell. They're obviously seeing what Jeffrey Wright's doing in this movie, and it's working. So they are giving him more. in the edit.
That's
how
exactly what I
felt.
understand. That's what, to my understanding, what I remember reading at the time when this movie came out was that essentially the two things happened. One was, as they were making the movie, they just realized, oh my God, Jeffrey Wright is doing something special here.
Yes,
like he is just like giving such a charismatic, funny, interesting performance. He's honestly, I love Christian Bale too, but he's kind of blowing Christian Bale off the screen anytime they're sharing a scene together. So even in the making of the movie, they started kind of bumping him up, and then in the edit especially, he was meant to eventually in the original script, I think, be more of like a mid-level boss. And then, but I think between the edit and I believe test screenings, it was just clear this is the character people are going to care about. So Christian Bale was actually largely left on the cutting room floor, and that's telling in the movie because you can the first part of the movie is clearly setting him up as the main villain. Oh yeah, and you can feel like the vibe shift in the movie when suddenly he seems much less important and it becomes about Peoples, and you're kind of happy for it because Jeffrey Wright is more interesting, but it does throw off the narrative of the film too.
Peoples Hernandez.
Everybody loves Peoples.
Everybody loves Peoples.
Yeah.
You know, in this character, like, it could have gone left. It could have gone in the lane of camp, but you kept it on the right side.
I kept it right in the pocket there.
Yeah. And I love that you nailed that Dominican accent because anyone who lives in New York knows that it's so distinctly Dominican.
Well, you know,
how did you nail that?
A lot of people say, "Oh, that's no, Latin accent." You know, it's like because people are really ignorant of the Dominican thing. It's a totally different thing.
Yes.
I used to go to this old Jewish men's club, and there was a dude named Raphael, who used to run the joint. And Rafi used to come up to me. He was Dominican. He'd come up to me and he said, Jeffrey, he said, you turning into a vampire. I said, huh? He said, you're turning into a vampire. You know, like Dracula with the fang. Because I came at night, and so Rafi was one of the voices that I used to find that thing where they kind of let that end of the word slide, and so out of a combination of voices, I found People's voice.
I love that.
And as amazing as Christian Bale is, just in general, you can tell that he's bored playing just another American Psycho character.
He almost didn't do this movie because he had just done American Psycho. Yeah.
Like he plays an elitist scumbag brilliantly. But back-to-back elitist scumbags, you can tell this was the second movie he was employed in.
Also the way like some of like the dialogue in the first part where they show like the flashback to how him and Trey got in this like altercation, and he's like the most generic script like racist ever. Like the things he's saying to him, it doesn't feel believable in that moment.
Yo. Excuse me, sir. Yo!
What's up, man?
They don't serve no malt liquor here. No malt liquor, all right? No. Aight? Aight? No 40s, no chronic, no Indo. Aight? Hey, dog, is you deaf? Holla back!
What an asshole.
You got that, Tupac?
So yeah, I'm not surprised, and I feel bad for him because it said like he kind of had to really be talked into doing this because he just done American Psycho, but then he did some like line readings with Toni Collette, and he really loved those scenes. He's like, okay, so I'll do it after all, and then his part just gets mangled and thrown largely on the editing floor, anyways. So it's kind of like it was a bummer of a deal for him.
It doesn't help when you're two villains because this is the best scene with a villain, and let's see if you agree with me. So it doesn't help that your main villain that's being touted, Walter Wade Jr., Christian Bale, has to go talk to your secondary villain, Peoples Hernandez, played by Jeffrey Wright. And then Peoples Hernandez takes a fucking shit in front of Walter Wade Jr., and you hear the sound effects of the plopping.
You do. Yeah.
And he is giving the most power move conversation I've ever seen in movies by taking a shit with the door open, staring him right in the eyes, and telling him, like, you're doing it my way or the highway.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can't just turn off the dogs or what?
Look, I got fucking mugged. I have no money.
I hear you. Calma. Well, I guess you just got to earn it back.
Huh?
Ounces are 1,000, A-balls 200, grounds 80. It's all pre-bag. And I tell you like I tell all my boys, if you caught it any more than it already is, you can say goodbye to repeat cost.
You gotta be shitting me.
You keep coming back, re-up with me 9 or 10 times, we should be even Steven in about 6-8 months.
Is this a fucking joke?
That's the moment you realize, oh, okay, Walter Wade Jr. He's not the real villain here.
And Christian Bale's like a very intelligent actor. I bet you that day on set, he had to realize it too, right? Like he's like,
for sure.
Oh, my character is being entirely overpowered by this character every time we're on screen together. There's no way I'm going to be looked at as the main villain of this movie. Like,
no,
I'm not just like afraid of Shaft. I'm being dominated by Peoples. So yeah, Jeffrey Wright just totally takes it over.
Totally.
I mean, because like one thing, and I'll say like again, problematic or not, Jeffrey Wright's performance is incredible, and like I had forgotten about the taking a shit moment, but one of the few things from Shaft, even though I hadn't seen it since 2000, one of the moments I have always remembered, and it still was like really like impactful for me this time, is there's a moment where there's a large shootout between Shaft and People's gangs, and kind of just an errant bullet by Shaft kills People's brother.
Oh yeah.
And then Peoples gets out of the car, and he's got like he's always got an ice pick with him. That's his weapon of choice, and he just starts stabbing himself in the chest with the ice pick, and he's like walking at Shaft saying, "You might as well kill me. You might as well kill me." And like that's such a powerful image and like such a great performance. Like that's the moment I remember from this movie. Which again, maybe a problem that the moment I remember is not a Shaft moment. It's a Peoples Hernandez moment. So.
No, he completely steals the movie. Like that's what happens. He steals the movie, and it is a little too convoluted.
Yeah.
The first movie we harped on being, and we're going to sound, well, I'll just speak for myself. I'm going to sound hypocritical. Okay. The first movie gets pretty boring, and it's very, very simple. It is a kidnapping storyline, and Shaft is employed to go get the girl. Like, there you go. That's the movie, right? This one, even more than the plot synopsis I said in the beginning, now you got dirty cops. You got this whole, they get entangled with Peoples Hernandez, who's entangled with Walter Wade Jr., who is like, they're trying to find Diane Palmieri, and then they got to find Diane Palmieri's family, and then her brothers get involved, and then Richard Roundtree shows up in the middle, and then at the end, and there's like, oh yeah, Sam Jackson quits. I think Shaft quits twice. Like, I'm not really even sure. I know he gets fired, I think, at one point, but then 2 years go by and he's back. So it's like there's like plot points that are just dropped.
That's so messed up. That's on a structural level. They really like bungled that because
Stupid.
So it is at the beginning of the movie. He's obviously a homicide detective, but because of the him punching Christian Bale after he arrests him, because Christian Bale makes another racist comment. Where the moment where you say he's getting fired, I think we're just meant to take that he gets basically demoted and he gets sent to a different division, because then we flash forward a few years and now he's working in narcotics, but then he finds Christian Bale again, but Christian Bale gets like released again, and then he quits. And I'm like, why didn't you just have him quit the first time?
Yeah.
Let's just get right into him being the PI. And then it also does, I get it, like whatever. I'm not supposed to think about this with a movie like Shaft. But he quits and then just immediately starts investigating this case by himself. And for the rest of the movie, I'd say he murders roughly 25 people. And he's not a police officer anymore. He's not a private eye either. He's not have a PI license at this point yet. The movie never really kind of gets into that later on. The fact that, I don't know, he did just kill like a lot of bad guys, and he doesn't really have the legal recourse for that anymore. But whatever, you know.
But also, you say he quits and he starts to work outside the law, yet his cop friends are still helping him out anyways. So he's basically inside the law anyway.
I know, and it's entirely pointless.
Yeah.
Can we also talk about the amazing moment where he does quit with the CGI badge?
Oh my God, he throws it, doesn't he? I forgot.
He throws it, and we have like a close-up of the spinning badge flying towards the judge's face, and then it like embeds in the wall behind him, and that's how he quits the NYPD.
Like a ninja star.
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
that
was actually nice. Yeah. That's a total trailer moment. That's why they filmed it. Hey,
yeah,
we'll put this in the marketing. Okay, Busta Rhymes is in this. Playing Rasan.
I love Busta Rhymes. You know Busta Rhymes' real first name?
I do not. I never want to know.
Oh, I'm going to tell you. Sorry, you have to know because it's important.
All right.
It's Trevor. So.
Wow, ruined him for millions of listeners.
I think it makes him cooler personally. I don't know.
Trevor Rhymes.
The man who famously kung fu fought Michael Myers.
Trick or treat, motherfucker.
Okay. Yeah, no, I love Busta Rhymes. Yeah, of course.
He's fun in this too. He's entertaining in this.
Yeah, he's always fun. Mm-hmm. Dan Hedaya is in this. Another Alien connection.
Yeah.
Which
star of Alien Resurrection. So him and his back hair, the two big stars of.
He also throws a CGI grenade. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember he takes the grenade and he throws it into the little cockpit thing and goes into the thing and blows up the thing. Who else? Okay, we mentioned Tony Collette.
Young Tony Collette.
Yeah. Why does Shaft not find her in 2 years?
Okay, so I'm glad you brought that, because you mentioned that the plot is convoluted, and I agree, but that's the problem. Is it's convoluted except based on a totally simplistic, make no sense premise.
Yes.
The idea that neither Shaft nor the villains can find this woman who allegedly is in hiding, and yet we kind of come to realize she's just been like at her family's house, and like she has a car, so like he's a cop. She still has a car, so she's like got a license. She's like registered, like there should be no problem finding this person. Mm-hmm. That's like the kind of, maybe on a story level, the biggest problem with this movie is you're just like, are all these people fucking idiots? Like this woman is not hard to find. She's not really in hiding. She didn't like run. He ran to Switzerland. She ran home. Like it's not like.
And like I understand, New York's a big place, but you've now introduced teams of people trying to find this woman, including incredible detectives, including my main character Shaft, who I'm supposed to be rooting for, but he comes off as an idiot. Because in the 2 years that this guy's gone, how did they not find this woman, put her in witness protection, or just anything at all? So yeah, it makes no sense, and it's a kind of a thankless role because Toni Collette is. I mean, she's young in this. This is 25 years ago, but she's gone on to be, every time she's in something, she's just absolutely amazing. Totally slept on with Hereditary. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. You're talking about awards, not just the general reception.
Yes, that's what I meant. Sorry, more awards. And I think another female character that slept on in here too is Vanessa Williams. I think she is a thankless role as well. I love Vanessa Williams, especially when she shows up in Eraser, my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I couldn't get through it.
Don't you dare! Don't you dare!
No, I couldn't get through it with the CGI gators. But yes, I love Vanessa Williams, and again, thankless role. So there's not a lot to do here for the female roles.
It's kind of like you feel like maybe they're doing that to try and be like the original Shaft.
That's what I was thinking too.
But like maybe this is the time to say like this is where we can upend it a little bit. And honestly, there's something to be said for when Vanessa Williams shows up in this and at the early scenes as like his secondary like police buddy. I was like, oh, that would be a really interesting idea for a 2000 Shaft movie, right? Like have it be like a buddy movie with the two of them, and it's about Shaft having to work with this woman. I know they did a Dirty Harry sequel that was about that, but guess what? That was a great Dirty Harry movie. Yeah. So make it the same thing where this misogynistic, sex machine detective has to work with this woman detective, and I should just say detective. I just got very sexist, but Vanessa Williams should be his equal, and that would make the movie more interesting instead of having her just be like kind of the, as you said, just useless sidekick essentially. Yeah.
How do you feel? Because I think I've made my feelings known about differentiating it from the first, keeping it in the same universe, but making him a new character. So I personally like that.
I do like that because it allows Richard Roundtree to show up as the original Shaft. Yes. And I mean, it's always great to see him. And I do love the moment where he leaves the bar with two young women, and it's like, okay, he still got it, And it's not, I think that's actually a really smart idea, and I actually do like the moments they share together are usually pretty good. And I even like the moment where, because the movie starts and you do wonder, why would this Shaft be a detective? Like, why wouldn't he know this system is broken, Yeah. And eventually we have a moment where they flat out say, he talks to his uncle and he says like, I should have listened to you. You were always telling me this would happen, that I wouldn't be able to actually like do the job in this system, that they would be out to get me, that they don't care about us, that the rich white people would always walk, So I like the idea that yes, the original Shaft knows. He's been telling him, he's been inviting him to come be a PI with him all this time, and he wanted to go a different path, and then it doesn't quite work out. The movie bungles the whole quitting, like getting demoted aspect of it, but I still like that. So yeah, I think that's a very clever way to use Roundtree, actually.
Yeah, and as much as I think it was a mistake not to have them team up
Yeah.
for the film, like do a true Lego sequel thing, even though it sounds like that's what I'm going to get into for the 2019 version. Maybe that's them with the old script coming together in some way. But it does feel like father-son, quote, uncle, nephew team up maybe should have been the movie. Again, I hate to rewrite the movies, but that idea just seemed so obvious. Is that something that you would have liked in this story? Like this exact plot, okay? This exact plot that's going on. Do you want John Shaft, new guy, to reach out to old guy for help? Or do you need him to stand on his own for his first outing?
I think absolutely it would have worked. And I know it kind of goes against what I said about how this is like the movie that singles out Samuel L. Jackson as like a star, and he's put, front and center just by himself. But still, This is Shaft, right? And there's no reason not to pay tribute to the original, and I think they understand that because they have Roundtree in it. You even essentially do narratively set it up. Like, how much better would the movie be if it is this idea that because he's been a detective all these years, he really has lost touch with like the people on the street. And he's kind of like, he's ostracized from the culture and everything. And then this all happens and his uncle comes to him and says, see, told you. And now he basically has to work with his uncle because the original John Shaft knows these streets better, right? And and it's just like that's like a great idea for a movie. So yeah. I definitely think that would have been better. I'm not any version that has more Richard Roundtree in it would have been better.
They really should have done that and called it Shafts with a $sign at the end. James Cameron.
James Cameron, yeah, the other JC. The two most important JCs in human history.
Yeah, Jesus Christ and James Cameron. Okay. Another thing too. I know the convoluted plot is what it is. However, I do like the small stakes of this. I think there's something charming. We've talked about this many times, but there is something charming, especially in the new age reboot blockbuster way we do things nowadays. There's something about the ground level stuff that's happening here. It's it could have been easy to have the mayor call Shaft and is like, we have a citywide mafia crime spree scheme that you have to solve. And I kind of like that it's simplistic enough, even though it's convoluted as shit. I like that it's ground level street gang. He has to go beat up a couple guys on the street. I want to see Shaft do that. I don't want to see Shaft a superhero.
I agree with that, yeah. I think the low stakes of it works in its favor, and you don't want a Shaft movie to ever be... I mean, that's kind of actually one of the issues with Shaft Goes to Africa, the third movie of the original franchise. You're kind of like, even the title alone, you're kind of like, I don't really want him to go... It's like,
totally.
Why he's... I understand the James Bond parallel, but he's not James Bond, right?
It's kind of the reason I'm not a huge fan of Spider-Man Far From Home. I don't like that Peter's in Europe. Yeah. Like, I want to see him in New York. There's so many things to solve there. he doesn't have to go fight Mysterio or the Hydro Man or whatever, on the in the London Bridge. Like, I just don't need to see that.
Well, I think the other issue with that is he's also like basically a little mini Iron Man in that movie. He's got too much tech. So again, sometimes the low stakes is what makes it more interesting.
Totally.
I quickly want to point out, I said earlier about how the movie isn't very interested in like race politics to a level that maybe it should be. And like I said, I know the movie like gets into it. It hints at it a little bit. It definitely brings up racism. But to the point of what I'm talking about, a great example is there's a character, another detective played by Lee Turgison, who is an actor
Turd Ferguson,
Lee Turd Ferguson, who some will remember as Beecher in Oz. So that's why I'm a huge fan of him. But he plays one of the cops in the narcotics squad that Shaft is working with in the first act after he gets kind of demoted to narcotics. Mm-hmm. And we find out that he's very racist. He says some like terribly racist things to a suspect they've arrested, and him and Shaft get into it. And then we never see that character again until later on when he works with Shaft together to like pose as two criminals to like rob Christian Bale. And it's like, Why? Like the movie, and the movie doesn't like do anything with that, right? It doesn't have any kind of redemption arc for Turgeson's character. It doesn't say he's like learned anything, but it also doesn't like get into like why would Shaft be willing to work with him. It doesn't have Shaft taking him down a notch after that. So it's like, I don't know, in a movie like this, to have a character be such a shitty racist earlier and then later just be like, yeah, but he's like, he'll still work with Shaft and it's all good. I'm kind of like, I don't want Shaft working with this guy, you know. So that's what I mean. Like sometimes the movie just seems to be kind of like treading too lightly with like the racial issues, when I think this movie, and the fact that it's about corruption and this like white collar kid getting let off, this is a movie that should have actually been touching on those themes a little bit more.
Well, I think that has to do with, again, all of the rewrites and the post-production process, right? Like Scott Rudin vetoed a bunch of stuff for Richard Price. He said that the script was too risque. They had a bunch of stuff about the racial insensitivity and was cut or downplayed. And like I said, Jackson refused to say some things, or he just didn't agree with how he would act. Like, I bet that's a scene that Jackson probably didn't agree with. You know, like, why would you, in the beginning of the movie, take this guy down a peg, but then later on, he's just kind of like the funny goofball of The Office. You know, it just doesn't really make much sense. So I think this is just, again, this is editing issues. This is dumbing it down. This is making it more mainstream is not the word I want to use, but it definitely feels like this is a watered down version of Shaft, the IP, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I agree.
See, again, it made a lot of money. It made a lot of money, but it didn't
hey, did you notice the
stand the test of time. So
I have it written in my notes this way just because I couldn't think of a better term to put it. Did you notice the Elizabeth Banks jump scare?
I did, yes.
Okay. It's not actually a jump scare. It's just like Elizabeth Banks.
In the flashback.
Yeah, in the flashback, Elizabeth Banks is just part of Mekhi Phifer's like group of friends that
just an extra.
She's just an extra. This is that point in her career. We haven't got to Spider-Man yet, and so she's just in the background. Never says a word, but she's in the background of multiple shots, and because it's Elizabeth Banks, it's now very distracting.
Yeah,
every time.
It's funny. This is tangentially related, but I went to go see the Black Swan 15th anniversary IMAX re-release a couple weeks ago, which was an astounding experience. Black Swan is officially in my top 10 of all time. It's been teetering there forever, but I absolutely love that movie. Sebastian Stan is in that movie.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember Black Swan well enough?
I don't. I mean, I remember Black Swan. I feel like I remember thematically in like certain scenes. I certainly don't remember Sebastian Stan being in it. Yeah.
So exactly, nobody does. So there's the scene where Natalie Portman, goes out with Mila Kunis. They go out for a night out to escape her mother, and they go to the bar. And the two guys that are hitting on them at the bar, and then Natalie Portman sits with and has a conversation with, that you think is going to go home with, is Sebastian Stan.
Okay. It would be incredible if the other one was Anthony Mackie.
It would have been so good. It was so good. I mean, he's living that life right now. You see all those pictures out there? He's having a good life, even though they've kind of demoted him from Avengers. You can tell.
Yeah.
which again, okay, maybe spoiler alert for Thunderbolts. Spoiler alert. Skip ahead 30 seconds. They forget about that guy. They forget about Anthony Mackie?
They talk about him. They talk about him in the post-credits scene.
Do they? I can't remember.
Yeah, it's about he's starting his own Avengers team and he's like suing them over the name.
Right, that is. There is a Avengers v Avengers name issue. Okay, all right. Yeah. It'll be totally dropped by Secret Wars. Okay, we're back. Talking Shaft.
Well, this is what I mean. Like, as you watch the movie, like we already mentioned a bunch of them, but like I just feel like all these like little these actors, just these character actors, I like keep popping up. You know, the judge who almost gets his head exploded by the flying badge is Pat Hingle, who is like Commissioner Gordon in the Batman movies. You know, another racist detective, the one who demotes Samuel Jackson at the beginning, and then I don't know. There's just like a entirely pointless scene later where he comes back, he's retired, but we find out he's working for the bad guys. Leads nowhere. But that's the great Daniel Van Bargen, a character actor I really, really like. We actually have a very funny, very well done cameo from Lawrence Taylor, the football legend who plays Lamont in this, who's a guy who sets up Shaft at a moment to kind of do like a surprise for him at the bar. I love that he's just wearing his LT earring, so even though he's not Lawrence Taylor, he's just wearing it. But yeah, this movie's like, and Andre Royo.
Yeah, Andre Royo, that's what I was going to say.
Thanks. Yeah, also from The Wire. Yeah, he rules. He's just, Andre Royo is one of those guys, he's just like, what a great face. You know, like, yeah. So yeah, it's exciting to see him. This movie's just populated with awesome people. You really just wish the script was worthy of it, you know?
If you were to guess, what is the runtime that was cut out of this movie? You know, not like you know the just the filming that there's, you know, they have 7 hours of filming.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the actual first cut of this movie, what do you bet? I'm guessing 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say 30 to 20 minutes. I'd say I wouldn't be surprised if this movie was like right at that 2-hour mark. We know there must have had beyond the fight scene at the airport. There had to be more with Christian Bale. Just to even set that up.
There's just so much going on in this movie that in 95 minutes it never comes together in a cohesive way. That there has to be so much out of, especially the dirty cops. I felt like the Dan Hedaya stuff is so sporadic that it's almost like it's confusing. Like it's so just peppered in where it does feel like that was the C plot for a lot of it to really bring it all together. But yeah, I just felt this was not a confusing watch. Like I was not sitting there with like drooling, like I don't know what's going on. But like I think it's just, it doesn't come together in a cohesive light to have really much impact. You know? Like at the end of the first movie, and not that it's I'm not a huge fan, but like at the end of the first movie, okay, they get the girl, you know, and it's kind of a rah-rah, and, you know, it's very fast, you know, Shaft makes a phone call and makes a joke and laughs it off, and then the theme song kicks in. It's like, oh, fucking Shaft, you know? But this one, it ends in a weird way too. Can we just say how it ends?
Sure. I kind of like the idea of this, but...
Same. But in execution.
Yeah. In execution, yeah.
Okay, so the whole movie, as I said, is a race to find Toni Collette's character to bring justice to Christian Bale, right? And they find her. It cuts to the courthouse, and it's tons of press. It's a whole just swarm of people outside this courtroom steps, and Sam Jackson goes to Trey's mother, Mekhi Phifer's mother, who is the initial villain, or the initial victim of the movie, and he's like, we got him. We're gonna get him this time, and the mother's like, you know, you're damn right, and then. They're walking up the steps, and then Christian Bale shows up, and there's a mob again of flashes and photographers and whatnot and everything. And then all of a sudden, somebody takes out a gun and just kills Christian Bale. And it is slowly pans, and it shows that it's the mother of Trey. I like that too. However, it's just, it doesn't have the impact of like, fucking right, we got him.
Yeah.
It has an impact of, oh, that's it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It also has the thing of like, the movie could have, a more clever movie that like could find a way to investigate this. There's like an irony to that of like, oh, this was all pointless.
Yes.
Like it was everything I went through to find Toni Collette, like it doesn't matter because she's never going to testify now anyways. It just doesn't matter. He was murdered. And it's like, well, that's interesting and funny, but like I don't think the movie realizes how interesting.
I don't think so. I don't think so either.
So yeah,
it feels more of a cop out than it's
a
pun
cop-out
unintended
to save the Toni Collette character, right? Because she's still nervous about what will happen to her after she testifies, and now she never has to. So.
Absolutely. And by doing that, it just rips any meaningfulness out of it.
And I get there is something thematically very interesting about this, you know, this mother of this slain black man who is just so sick of seeing the way this like white, you know, rich kid is kept getting released, and she just doesn't trust the system, so she takes it upon herself to murder him. And I get it, and there is an element of like satisfaction to that, but then like Shaft looking over her and like smiling and kind of laughing as she herself is getting arrested. I don't know. It just kind of, it plays odd. Yeah.
And we saw that mother one time.
Yeah.
I think if you again peppered more of the mother, if Sam Jackson went to go, like if Shaft went to go visit her to check up on her during these 2 years or whatever, to see how she's doing, there's more emotional resonance to give her some agency later on than it just being, because at the end you're kind of like, oh yeah, right, that's his mom. Like it's not set up, so
or even have like a scene where the mom says to Toni Collette, like, don't worry dear, like you're gonna be fine, you're gonna be safe, you know.
100%.
Like, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, a setup and a payoff maybe.
Yeah, God, wouldn't that be amazing? Because that I mean, I know we've harped on it already, but again, like it just can't be overstated that like the deviation with Peoples really makes the whole thing just feel strange. Because even again, like you said, you don't want to rewrite the movie, but I love to rewrite the movie. Like we have the moment where Christian Bale comes to Peoples for help because they get thrown in jail together at one point, and so and Peoples kind of is very much intrigued by Christian Bale's wealth, so tries to befriend him. Right. Christian Bale shrugs it off, but then later he comes to him for help when he needs someone to find this waitress and to kill her. And then we have the taking a shit moment, isn't it, where Peoples is saying look, I'll do it. I'll take your little piddly bunny and go kill her. But at the same time, why don't we become even bigger friends? And why don't you become my connection and get me white collar, clients for my drug running? And Christian Bale says no. And so, wouldn't the movie be way more interesting if at that point he said yes? Totally. And these two teamed up? And then that, the fact that they continue to not like each other and they're at odds, that's what eats up so much of the time that's not with Shaft. And I'm okay, why am I now watching the battle between Peoples and Walter Wade Jr.? I don't I'd rather see these two teamed up trying to take down Shaft so that he has a bigger obstacle to overcome.
And they also, I'm so glad you brought this up. This is probably my last thing I want to actually say about the plot, because you're so right that Peoples takes over the plot, right? But also undermines Walter Wade Jr. in that moment. But again, okay, Walter Wade Jr. is apparently this super wealthy family, right? This real estate developer. Yeah. And even when he gets his bail, it's like $1 million or whatever it is. It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But then he has to pawn jewelry to get $40,000 to hire Peoples, and then he gets mugged, and then he goes to Peoples and says, I don't got any money anymore. Yeah. So you're undermining your main antagonist on the page. Now he's poor?
I know. And there's even that weird moment where he's with his dad, and then his stepmom comes in, and he's oh, you gave my stepmom my mom's necklace. I'm what is this? Are we supposed to feel sympathy for him this moment?
Totally.
It's so weird. I don't want to feel sympathy for this guy. What are you doing, movie?
It would have been so much better if they both were mustache twirling, honestly, and then join forces and go against Shaft. And then you tap into that blaxploitation. You tap into that over the topness. You keep in the spirit of the original Shaft while still being your quote unquote gritty crime thriller of the 90s.
And then Shaft's and then again, and I know this is the way it was really originally structured, even originally shot, but then Shaft's final villain that he fights is actually a rich white guy who's emblematic of this whole system, right? And it's not a member of another minority group who is unfairly, targeted by police all the time in New York. So that's the other weird thing about Peoples becoming the main villain.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
It's thematically confused as well. So
yeah.
Again, not a bad movie.
No, that's the crazy thing. Is this is the power of Samuel L. Jackson, that we've said all this and that. You watch the movie and then he comes on screen and you're like, oh, he's not really playing Shaft. He's just kind of Samuel Jackson. This plot's kind of shitty, but goddamn, I like watching Samuel L. Jackson.
I know. It's really hard to. Yeah. Hell, we're defenders of Deep Blue Sea.
Well, I mean, Deep Blue Sea is fantastic. I won't hear any besmirching of that movie. Yeah. I got no notes on that one.
Yeah, totally. That's a 5-star masterpiece.
That's enough now from all of you. You think water's fast? You should see ice. It moves like it has a mind. Like it knows it killed the world once. It got a taste for murder. When the avalanche came, it took us a week to climb out. And somewhere, we lost hope. Now, I don't know exactly when we turned on each other. I just know that 7 of us survived the slide, and only 5 made it out. Now, we took an oath that I'm breaking now. Swore that we said was the snow killed the other 2. But it wasn't. Nature can be lethal, but it doesn't hold a candle to man. Now, you've seen how bad things can get and how quick they can get that way. Well, they can get a whole lot worse. So we're not going to fight anymore. We're going to pull together and we're going to find a way to get out of here. First, we're going to seal off this movie.
I guess the only question left is, did this deserve sequels? And from my perspective, I would have liked to see more Sam Jackson Shaft movies.
And we should clarify. We're not saying does it deserve the sequel it eventually got, because again, we're not talking about that. Because that is an attempt to like reboot it again in a new direction with a new lead character. I think I kind of don't understand why they didn't, even though I agree. Like, I understand actually the answer is that this is one of those ones where it made a lot of money, but no one liked it enough to bother with the sequel. And also it seemed like nobody really, as you said, on behind the scenes level, no one had fun making it. Yeah. So that probably got in the way. But I think because Samuel Jackson is just so much fun, like in this part, and again, I don't necessarily see the part as Shaft, but if you're asking me, does this deserve sequels where I would have just got to have more Samuel Jackson as a cool, badass private eye in New York? Yeah, I would have watched like 3 more of these.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Even if they were just like only this good, I'm sure I would have watched them and been like, yeah, those are all okay. So this is one of those ones where I'm just like, yeah, sure, why not? Maybe they should have just. There's always a chance the sequels could have like figured out these problems a little bit. I actually think that's a safe bet. Like with the right filmmaking team, I think you could have had a much stronger sequel to this than what this was.
I think so too, and like I really do think it came down to the creatives involved just not getting along. Yeah. They just don't want to work together again, right? Like if Scott Rudin owns the rights and he fought with Singleton and Salerno the whole time and Price, and then even Sam Jackson wasn't super happy making the movie, I mean, fuck it, move on, So.
Can I just take a brief moment before I wrap up? And I never do this. But another podcast you and I listen to, Blank Check, they sometimes will do a merchandise spotlight on the movies. And I do have to point out that this movie oddly received an action figure. And what's really weird about it is that in 2000, there was a Shaft action figure that was part of the McFarlane Toys Movie Maniacs line, which up until that point had exclusively been horror characters. Yep. And then they just did one for Shaft. But the weird thing is, even though it was not a horror character, it was still part of Movie Maniacs, and they still had him come with the same skull and bones base that all the slasher characters came with.
Oh,
so
funny.
like every action figure of that line, there was like Freddy, there was Jason, there was Leatherface, and then they came with this base that had the movie poster for their movie, but the base was made out of skulls and bones. The Shaft one still has that. It's like, why is Shaft standing in front of a base made of skulls and bones? It's just like, you guys could have rethought that for this one, but okay.
I was a big fan of Movie Maniacs.
Yeah, it's a great line.
I had, and I unfortunately sold everything off at this point. Just cause.
I still have some of mine, like on a bookshelf at home.
I know. I wish I kept them because I had a lot of Alien stuff.
Yeah.
A lot. I had the big Queen, like the original Queen with like the girl on the wall and the chest burster comes out. I had that. I had the Alien 3 Dog Alien. I had the Alien Resurrection. I had some AVP stuff as well. Then I had a lot of the Matrix line for obvious reasons.
Did you have the diorama of them, like of him and like Smith like fighting in midair?
Yes, I did. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I had that, and then I had the one when Trinity's falling. That was probably the best one. That one was awesome. And then I had the APU from Matrix Revolutions.
God, I'm surprised you got rid of any of these.
Dude, it was just one of those. It was one of those things of like, just I don't even know. Like even recently, I've gotten rid of some Sideshow collectible stuff. Like I've sold some. What the hell are they called again? The ones that look super lifelike. Oh my god, what's the line called?
Sideshow or?
Yeah, the Sideshow collectible. The ones that look like perfect.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
Oh my god, those. Those ones. Like I had like an Iron Man and like a Captain America and you know what? Hold on. I gotta know. Sideshow collectibles.
Hot Toys? Is that
Hot Toys.
Yeah, okay, that is
Hot Toys. Yes. Those things are like So anyway, I sold like 3 of them and for like $2,000.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've still got I still have my original like Freddy Movie Maniac, my Leatherface. The Crow is one I still love because he's got like the guitar and a little crow that goes on his shoulder. I will say, and still to this day, I'm a guy that if I get something like that, I'm not like a leave it in the package guy. I
me neither.
Get them out of the package and display them, so mine aren't worth shit because they're out of the package. But that's fine. Like to me, they're just something cool to be on a bookshelf. So.
No, I agree.
I'm a 44-year-old man.
Oh, okay. Well, I do regret getting.
But guess what? I'm married, so whatever, man. I tricked someone into dealing with it, so it's fine.
Yeah, the opportune word is tricked, I guess. Yeah. Hi, Liz. Okay, that'll do it for Shaft. Next up,
Until
Shaft.
next time. Yeah. Until next time when we review Shaft.
Yes. Double shafted is exactly what it means. Shaft from 2019. This is another re-sequel, lega-sequel thing. So, I think you've seen this. Obviously, you're a Shaft fan. So, but I have not. So this has been. I've been diving deep.
Yeah.
Know what I'm saying?
Well, like I said, I think you could just jump ahead of that one. Don't worry about Shaft's big score and Shaft Goes to Africa. I won't recommend them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, follow along at F2FPod. That's at F2, the number 2FPod. That's on all the socials. Like us there, like us everywhere. Rate, review, whatever you do. A star rating would be awesome. And just join the tribe and hit that subscribe. And let's get shafted, you know? This has been interesting. I'm follow along with these two white guys talking more Shaft and Blaxploitation films.
It's what the world wants. Probably not what the world needs.
Hey, if
definitely not what the world needs.
If Jeffrey Wright can be called the MVP of this movie when he played Latino face, then honestly, I don't know what we're doing anymore. I'm seeing Caught Stealing tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Let me know how it is.
Yeah, I decided, I'm like, we have a meeting with our coordinator, and then it works out perfectly that I'll just bugger off and go see it. It's getting really good reviews, so.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think I'm probably watching Nobody 2 tomorrow because I think it hits digital.
It does, yeah. Yeah, and I'll watch that this week at some point too. So you let me know yours. You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yeah. Okay. I won't bother to talk to you about Toxic Avenger because I know you don't care, but I saw that, so.
Yeah, I mean, how was it?
I loved it. I thought it was really fun. It is just still. It's always wild to see Kevin Bacon and Elijah Wood just in that movie, you know, and and both of them just totally getting it and going for it. That was a good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he's charging $120 for a fucking signature. Bad.
Well, he was just in The Toxic Avenger, which only made $1 million this week. So,
Dude, I can't believe. Okay, I haven't gone to a con in a long time, and I know you've gone to many. Not recently, but you've gone. You frequent.
No,
them
I still go to cons all the time. Yeah,
more regular. Okay, you do. Okay, that's a lot of money, right?
Oh yeah, I don't.
Okay.
When someone hits especially when they hit the 100 mark, it's fuck you. I'll never pay over 100 for anyone. I'll never pay 100 for anyone.
Well, because that's what I thought too. Because I hadn't gone to the smaller cons in a long time, and when I did, I got signatures and pictures with a lot of the Whedonverse people and the Terminator people, and they were max. My John Carpenter signature on my Blu-ray cost max $30.
Yeah. Fucking
John Carpenter.
My tap out is kind of 60, and and that's even dependent on the people, because I do agree. And I think this is somewhat discussed, but some of the people I want to meet are people that are just on basic cable shows. And I understand that actually they don't make the same amount of money as but Elijah Wood has Lord of the Rings money, so yeah.
Dude, it was so lame. Because I said that to a friend of mine, and he was like, "Oh, I figured they'd be more," and I was like, "You don't understand conventions." I was like, because he's never been to one, and I'm like, no, that is outrageous, because it's basically predatory in my opinion. That amount of money, especially nowadays, and remember, hey Elijah Wood, I was gonna say you're looking for kids and stuff, but I guess not. You're looking for people my age. So I just think it's a little to get all 4 Hobbits because honest to God, I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, I get them to sign my 4K Blu-rays. And I'm like, if I can get all 4 Hobbits on there, it's going to cost me $500.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
The only slight defense to it, but I still think there's got to be a way to rework this, is I did listen to a podcast once with a guy he's the guy who kind of revolutionized this con signing culture. Sure. And I actually really like this guy. His name is Sean Clark. I've met him multiple times at cons. I like him.
Okay, cool.
He hosts this YouTube series called oh fuck, what's it called? I can't remember the name of it, but it's where he goes to the shooting locations of old horror movies and shows what they look like now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he was doing for a while, and then he somehow got hooked up with Norman Reedus, and he started representing Norman Reedus, and then he started representing everybody. So he basically is one of those guys who represents everyone. And he did a podcast talk about that whole con culture, because obviously Norman Reedus became one of those first guys. It was a huge deal at cons.
Yeah.
And they asked him why is Norman Reedus? They asked him why have the autograph prices gone up so high, and why is Norman Reedus so expensive? And he was like, what people don't realize is if Norman Reedus only charges $20, triple the amount of people will get in his line, and there's like no way he'll be able to get to the whole line. And if he tries to get to the whole line, it'll keep the venue open longer. They'll be like, it won't work. And he's like, you have to place it at a premium to where like the people who want to pay it will be the only ones who do. So I was like, I understand that, but I don't know. There's got to be like a different way to figure that out, and just be like, I'm sorry, you cap the line at a certain point, and it really does become like the old days of movie tickets where it's first come, first serve.
Yeah,
you know?
I agree.
Yeah.
Like you have to either you do it on an online portal and you get a ticket like we did for Comic-Con, right? You should get a ticket because I totally understand that strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense. However, it is still a signature.
Yeah.
You know, like it is still like people. I can pay $100 and go to a pretty sweet band, like a pretty sweet like concert in a stadium for $120. Let alone my.
I just saw Nine Inch Nails in the stadium, by the way.
Oh yeah, you did go, didn't you?
Yeah,
How was
fucking
it?
awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. They did the Tron song even.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
Nice. Jealous. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. Well, I'm glad I was right. Because my original thought was just like, what the flying fuck is that about?
Yeah.
So
you should look up and see what William Shatner charges sometime. He's like 250 or something. I think.
Well, and I remember when his was expensive for being 100. Like I remember when Ian McDermott for like Palpatine showed up for a Calgary convention and his signatures were like $150. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what the flying fuck is that about? So, I don't know. Anyways. Okay, do your Isaac Hayes intro. Okay, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yep, see ya.
Okay, yeah, see ya.